I'm Amber Jean. I'll be helping facilitate with this and kind of instruct this workshop. I'll go ahead and start us off. This is the Marketing 101, crafting your messaging and choosing the right platform. I'm happy to partner with Change Labs and Navajo Small Business Credit Initiative. And a little bit about me is my name is Amber Jean Yat. I'm a role member of the Navajo Nation. My clans are Kia'ani Nishle, Toheglini Bashijin, Tsotsotni Dashiche, and Bitatni Dashanele. I have 10 years of experience in marketing, advertising, communications across a variety of industries, anywhere from like food, beverage, art, fashion, education, tech, automotive, politics, nonprofit, and anything else in between. Anything I can get my fingers in between. I love marketing. It's just so exciting to help others. Some of my past clients and my past work have been featured in Thrillist, Huffington Post, Vogue magazine, National Geographic's Yes magazine, and then also some local publications. And one of my big missions too with marketing is just to support like Indigenous peoples, businesses, artists, organizations, communities through marketing and advertising and communications. And I'll go ahead and move us to the overview. The overview for this workshop, we're going to have an impromptu question. We're going to talk about what is marketing, how marketing matters, and then we'll also have a reflection activity that you can use when you're for your own business. And then some key elements of marketing, crafting your message, choosing which platforms and channels to use. We'll also have a breakout activity where you can create your own messaging and you'll kind of like use this guide that I created that helps entrepreneurs like yourself kind of get all that down on paper and be very mindful and like strategic and intentional when you're creating your content too as well. And I'll also have some free resources and some tools. And at the end, we can have some questions and connections, but also feel free to drop questions in the chat too. If I could have Holly's support and letting me know if I miss anything in the chat, that'd be helpful. But yeah, I'll move us on to the first part, and you can either you can drop your answer or response in the chat, or you can go off camera. I'd love to hear some of your guys' voices and kind of connect with you guys. But the prompt question I have is, what comes to mind when you hear the word marketing? I'll give you guys a few seconds. We have social media. That was a good one. Yes. We have another answer of how you present your business, community, and I love that you guys are touching on these because a lot of what I'll be going over is including all these things like sharing and networking. So I'll go ahead and move us on to the next part. What is marketing? What is marketing? So it's what I think of it as like a story, your message, your strategy, your connection, and then like also building your community. And marketing is just a strategic and creative plan built around a message that you execute through different platforms to share knowledge about your business, your brand, your art, your story, your voice, your or the impact that you want to have. It's how you connect your vision with your audience in a very like meaningful and memorable way to build that community. So that's kind of how I view marketing. I try to take it another like step deeper and have more of like an indigenous perspective of what marketing is versus like in a colonial perspective. But yeah, this is a little bit of a definition for it. I like to use analogies too, an analogy like sucker. But I like to also think about like marketing as like growing corn. Marketing is like growing corn. There's many steps that happen before, during, and after the process. Just like corn, it requires planting, nurturing, and harvesting, marketing. So marketing kind of also demands that same like commitment, which is like time, dedication, consistency. And each stage really does matter because it brings together the creation and conditions for real growth and abundance and nourishing that community that you want to build for your business. So that explains why there's a lot of corn on these slides. I just like to think of it in that way from like an indigenous perspective what did marketing look like back in the day before colonial times. And I just think like it was super important back then as well. We did it in a different way through pictures. But yeah, I'll go ahead and move us on to 4 reasons why it matters. And I chose four because, well, four sacred, of course, obviously. But just to keep it simple as well, there's like many other reasons why, but these are like the top four. It helps tell a story. It shares the heart and purpose of your business. It helps with growing the community, creates support around your work and your business. It also helps with like protecting your reputation. That's something to consider. And when you're doing that, you're strengthening your trust and the credibility over time to really deepen those connections. And another reason is builds connections, reaching those people who really align with your values and your missions, and like you just find your people who can support you. So I'll just move us on to the reflection portion, which is answer these following questions. So this is like a little like about 5-10 minute writing opportunity for you to get you kind of brainstorming for your business. So the first question is, why do you think marketing for you and or why do you think marketing matters for you and your biz or why do you think marketing for you and your business matters? The second question is, why do you think marketing for your audience matters? And the third, why do you think marketing for people who are not your audience matters? So I'm just going to give everybody like a brief moment to just like grab some paper and just kind of write your answers down and just reflect on like why it matters for you. This helps sets like the intention and kind of gets you ready to like start brainstorming for crafting that message. So yeah, I'll just give everybody a brief moment to just kind of write down what they have, and then you guys can drop it in the chat. And I'd like to allow some space if anybody would like to come off camera or come off mic and just share like why do these things matter to you? Yeah, I'll just give everybody just a brief moment. All right. Does anybody want to share like why do you think marketing matters for you and your business? Or why do you think marketing for your audience matters? And why do you think it's why do you think marketing for people who aren't your audience, why does it matter? Anybody want to share in the chat?
I can share.
Yeah, definitely.
I just put just some simple answers about why marketing for my business matters, just to get more participation and to get more people interested, even though they're not that if they're not a part of my audience that I'm trying to reach, because sometimes they can still help you in certain ways or provide resources and things like that.
Thanks for sharing, Mackenzie. I appreciate it. Yeah, it definitely does. It helps a lot. And then we have another one in the chat, which is marketing brings our vision to light. Another reason is it gives our audience a voice and confidence. Three. And three, it brings awareness to those who are not our audience. So I love everybody's response. And I love that everybody has this like their own way of explaining why it's important to them. And I'll go ahead and move us to the next slide. And once again, thank you for sharing, everybody. I appreciate you guys coming off mic. So for me, from an Indigenous perspective of what marketing is, I try not to focus on centering like selling. Instead, I try to think of it as it being rooted in storytelling, relationship building, and sharing knowledge. The why behind your message is what supports your brand, your identity, your voice, and that's how it forms its purpose. And that is what creates depth and value. It's what makes people remember you and connect with your work in a very meaningful way. So once again, back to the corn. The corn's very grounding in the earth. So I like to kind of think of it in that way. So, but yeah, I will move us to the next part. I appreciate you guys sharing again. I love when people participate and it just opens up that door for that connection as well. Mhm. So, what makes up marketing? There are a lot of different pieces that are under the marketing umbrella. So you can have your strategy, you can have your budgeting, you have your ideas, you also have your goals, you have the execution, you have the relation part, you have the creativity, you have keeping up with like trends and what's happening in the news. There's also partnerships and outreach and sponsorships. There's also the observation, the analytical side. So there's so many different types. And there's also even like project management and like crisis management. So just getting an idea, like these are some possible like other sectors that if you have a business, these are some things you probably want to like hire specific roles for. Or if you're just like, it's just you doing it, this is all the things that you're doing while you're doing marketing. So it makes up so many different sectors. But to break this down a little bit more, because I know this seems like a lot, and it could be a lot because you're wearing so many hats. I kind of broke it down a little bit into categories to make it a little bit more simplified. So, what parts make up marketing? So we have the foundation. The foundation is like the ideas, the spark of what you're offering. We have the message as well, what you want people to know about your business. There's the storytelling, and that is just the heart and like the soul that makes your messaging relatable. And then another portion or another part that makes up marketing is the strategy. So you have the analytics. This is where you use data and research to help like guide a decision. Under strategy, we also have the strategy and like planning. This is where you map out how and when and where you'll share this message. And then you also have your finances. So you're budgeting and you're also like balancing your resources that you have. All these things come into play when you're trying to develop, let's say, a marketing campaign or probably like just a mini campaign too. All these come into consideration when you're building out that message. The next part is the action. So, this is the creativity, the execution, just making sure you bring that plan to life through visuals, whether that's like written words, spoken words, even nonverbal. But yeah, that's one part of the action. Another part is the promotion, sharing your message across the platforms and the media. And the next part is community outreach and partners. So this is like when we're connecting and collaborating directly with people to help build that trust and those like deep relationships. And last one is the reflection part. So this is where you go back and reevaluate, you make observations by reviewing like what's working and what can be refined, improved, or maybe even just like completely removed. And definitely keeping track of your reporting. So you're measuring your results and you're sharing that outcome based on what you wanted to achieve when you were setting those like foundations and that strategy. So these are some sectors of what makes what parts make up marketing. And there are more, so there you also have to think about, like, your branding as well, so these are just the simplified versions. But yeah, I'll go into this one. So I did create a marketing guide for you guys, and this guide is gonna serve as, like, a strategic framework and, like, a worksheet that helps you craft your messaging, your designing, to help you be organized and help evaluate any like potential marketing campaigns you want to do in a way that's like grounding and intentional, but also being like culturally respectful and mindful. And I can drop this in the chat as well. So you guys will always have access to this. And let me put it in here, marketing guide. And we'll be using this guide for our workshop, but for now, I'm going to go ahead and take a brief moment to see if any of you guys have any questions based on the things that we have gone over. And I'll show visuals. So we've gone over what is marketing. I shared an analogy, 4 reasons why it matters, reflection, and what makes up marketing, and what are the parts that make it up. So just going to take a brief moment to share some space for you guys and see if you have any questions, comments, if you want to elaborate on something. But yeah, Oh, thank you. I appreciate you liking the slides. My business cards look like that too. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Hey, Amber, I have a question if you're taking questions.
Yeah, definitely.
Actually, I'll turn my camera real quickly. I have a question because I've, went to marketing trainings before and they really emphasize niche marketing or niche. I don't know how you pronounce that word, niche marketing. And especially like like I'm in the financial services industry. I can help any and everybody essentially, but I don't want to. I guess from your perspective, from a marketing professional, should I really like identify like a very specific target audience, or is it best to keep it open to everyone? Because like how you mentioned, like why also how do you talk to people who are not your target audience? So just kind of wanted your thoughts on that aspect.
I think what it comes down to for that one is having like niche marketing is I think it will definitely lining yourself back up with your mission and your values of your business, seeing if it fits in that sector. But also sometimes it's good to just step out of it. So that's kind of more of I say like a business decision if you would like to do that. There are like there's cons and pros of having like a niche marketing. It does limit like specifically you only want to focus on this. And then versus like if you don't do a niche marketing, you're like speaking to a broader. So I think also as like having a niche, it is good because like if there's a certain audience that you are trying to like reach and build out to, but you don't have. So for example, you want to reach out to the people who are selling specifically or you want to help people who are specifically selling snow cones. You would then want to do like target audience and like learn about them. So then you can develop that niche market. So that's kind of how I view it. Like you have options based on like what your mission is, what your values are. And if it's just something you just really want to do, I'm like, don't let anything stop you. I hope that helps answer your question a little bit or I can elaborate a little bit more if I didn't answer your question correctly or thoroughly.
No, that's helpful. I like how you said just bring it back to the values of the company and the business, the work.
Of course. Thank you for asking your question. Does anybody else have any questions before I jump us into the marketing guide? Well, I'll go ahead and move us forward. And I did drop the marketing guide in the chat, but I believe we had a few people enter, so I'll redrop it in just in case. Once again, this guide serves as like a strategic framework and a worksheet that will help you craft your messages and just kind of be organized, evaluate your marketing campaigns, and a way that's like very grounding and intentional. So you're making sure like you're checking off those boxes. I'm asking myself those questions when I'm developing this message. So I did drop it in the chat so you have access. And I'm just going to kind of go through one by one of each of these subtitles in this marketing guide. All right. So the first part, when you're going to want to craft your message, is doing that prep work. You want to know what the purpose of like the content is that you're making. So that's really important. And then you also want to double check in and like see if it aligns. Is it aligning back with your mission and your values? And then another phase of the prep work is awareness. So the question would be, are there any cultural or community considerations we need to honor when doing marketing? And another part is partnership. Are you partnering or collaborating with another like entity, business, organization, or person before you start like jumping in and just like being creative? Doing this prep work helps you kind of make sure you're in alignment of what you want to accomplish for your message and your business and just working and collaborating with others, but also have that sense of awareness, not only like culturally, but also like what is happening right now, like maybe like what's trending in the news. Just have that like room of awareness. So that was like the first part of this guide. So you're going to answer these questions and it just kind of, yeah, centers you into getting in that mindset to create that message. The next phase of creating this message is the grounded guidance. So I think of this as giving yourself boundaries, but also let allowing those boundaries be a new opportunity. So we want to think about the timeline. When is the deadline? Are there any milestones or checkpoints that you need to assign yourself so you remember to get it done or to, plan and make space for that? There's also the goals. What are your goals? That's going to help really shape the message, as well as like, what does success look like? How are we measuring what success looks like? Is it through numbers? Is it through how people respond back to it? Is it the relationship building part? Is it all of them? So that is another part of like getting, making sure you're writing this down so you can reference it back when you're creating that message. And another one is definitely budget, seeing if you have a marketing budget where you can allocate certain funds to certain areas for your marketing. So an example would be like, oh, I want to do a TV ad. Or, oh, I'm just gonna like, I have a smaller budget. I'm gonna stick to like social media because it's free. So some things to consider when you're like about to write your message. The next part is identifying and reaching your audience. So it's good to kind of get a broader of like, who is your main audience that you are wanting to reach with this message? So, for example, I am a Navajo weaver. I would want my audience to definitely be, from a broader perspective, Indigenous people. And that would just be one example of a main audience. And then opportunity audience is like, who else do you want beyond your like main audience to benefit from seeing this message, or maybe you want them to engage with it? So I'm a weaver and I think it'd be great if I could probably also have my message reach people who are in the art industry, people who are artists, people who are maybe work in the museum. So those are different opportunities of how you can consider when you can that hold on. Considering these audiences is what can help really shape the message and the language that you choose. All right. And the next part is the actual key messaging. What is the key message you want to tell your audience? Maybe as a weaver, I want to tell them that like my work is really about cultural revitalization. So that could be like one of my main messages. It's also good too to think about like, is there any messaging you want to avoid or refrain from? Having your do not list is really helpful. So then you can really hone in on like specifically what you want to say versus what you want to avoid, which is good because, like I said, when you understand and you have that awareness of what could possibly, what could like jeopardize your business and put your business at risk is important. And then I also like to play with adjectives. I think adjectives are a fun way to like make the messaging a little bit more. Oh,
Okay. I forgot I had a Zoom.
just a heads up, you're on Lucinda, you're off mic. Just a
Oh, I'm
heads up.
sorry. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I thought I was.
You're all good. But yeah, adjectives, these help like best describe your messages. And last part is the action. What do you want your audience to walk away with? What are their next steps? Are there any like call to actions you want them to do? So these are some of the framework to consider when writing it. Next part is choosing the tone. This is the one I've noticed throughout my industry that people forget. And this one I think is super important. The tone. It is like how you want your message to be delivered. How do you want people to feel when they read your message, when they hear about it, when people are talking about it? I like to think of it too this way, especially as like Indigenous people. There's so many people across Turtle Island and on the Navajo reservation too, but we all have different dialects and different tones, which can come off in a different way for each culture. So that's why I really like to emphasize like tone is super important. Like think about like when you were younger as a res kid and your mom's like, get inside, you don't need to be doing that. You shouldn't be laying around. But if she like changed her tone, like, oh Shawette, you should like, can you help me, can you help me clean the dishes? Can you get up and do this? Like that really makes a difference in like how people feel and how they're gonna react to your message. So but yes, tone is what the key message you want to tell your audience, but also how you want them to feel. Once again, anything you want to avoid, but I'll go into this part right here, which is choosing the tone. How do you want your audience to feel when they read, see, or listen to your message? And I love this part because tone kind of goes into feelings, which is like psychology. And there is psychology in marketing. And I think also just having that awareness and empathy for people and being able to put yourself in their shoes is what really helps define the tone and identify it. And but yeah, this is a color wheel that I found online, and I can share this link with you as well if you ever want to reference back to like when you want to set your tone for your message, you can always refer back to this. So maybe you're having an event. You definitely want that event to sound like exciting. You want the tone to be exciting. You want it to be inviting. Maybe you want it to be also maybe, yes, exciting, inviting, but it could also be very like relaxed at the same time. So you don't only have to just stick to one tone, but you can pick multiple tones on how to help craft your message. Because as like even as a person, you go through so many emotions and you can be happy, but you can also be sad. And it works the same way with marketing. You can have like two things that may seem like they contradict each other, but it ends up working out depending on how you craft that message and which tone you select. And yes, I definitely saw your comment right now. Yes, it is okay for your tone to change from time to time, but it's also okay to like hold space and have like different types of tones. So that's kind of how I view tone as. It's like the feeling part. It's like, yeah, it's just like the feeling part. It's the psychology of like the marketing. I'm gonna just take a brief moment. Does anybody have any questions regarding choosing a tone or key messaging, identifying and reaching your audience, or anything about the grounding guidance, prep work? And I will also drop this guide, the color psychology. And there's another thing too, like psychology and colors play a big contributing factor. So a lot of times people, when they see like the color yellow, they assume that with like energy and positivity. So there's even like psychologies about color. But I also like to think of it too from like an indigenous perspective, like green. Green is like growth. You see that in our plants out there. So I like to think of it in that way as well, trying to feel out, okay, this is how it is from like a general perspective. This is what we're told in schools and institutions. But also like as a native person, when I see this color, I think of the land. How does it make me feel? So, but yeah, if there are no questions, I'll go ahead and move us on to the next part, which is selecting the mediums. In what form will this message be shared? So there are different ways you can share your message, which is you can share it through text, you can share it through audio, visual, and you can do like a mixture of both. You can do text and visual, or you can do audio and visual. And some examples of text would be like a banner, a graphic, something in a newspaper, a text message. Moving on to the audio is more of like radio, voiceover, recordings, videos. And then for visuals, it can be here, it could be images, it can be videos, it can be virtual reality. And then once again, the mixed media is where you get like a little bit of mixture of everything. So let's say you wanted to do like a multimedia blog. That blog will have words, it'll have videos, maybe you'll even have like accessibility. So it reads the blog for people. Television is also a mixed media, and emails. So when you're selecting your platform, oh, quick question. Anybody have any questions about the select media? Okay, cool. Oh, here we go. Would you say blogs are as popular nowadays? So my experience with blogs is they can be popular. It just depends on how you market it out into the world. So, and I think of blogs as being able to tell your own story, but also provide facts and informations and resources. And then once you have that blog ready, then you can like figure out, okay, how am I going to market this blog out so it can be successful? So that's kind of how I think of vlogs. They can be popular depending on how it is being marketed. The next question. A day in the life TikToks kind of be a blog? They are. I would say that's like a specific niche, definitely. But they could be blogs if you wanted to make them into a blog. So you can make the TikTok and then write down a reflection story about why today was like maybe why today felt like today or something like that. And then from there, you can add in like, oh, I'm wearing my Jordans. I'm wearing my Vans backpack to work. And then you can hyperlink those things into your blog. And that's another thing too. Hyperlinking helps a lot for blogs and SEOs. Yes, SEOs are super important for blogs. And that's like a lot of back end work. And then using like Google Analytics. And yeah, definitely. I think anything can be a blog. And it's just finding like figuring out how to relate it back to your audience, relate it back to your mission. Okay, I'm thinking more of vlogs. Oh, vlogs. Okay, vlogs. Would you say vlogs are popular nowadays? Yeah, definitely vlogs are a lot more popular, but it also probably depends on each like audience as well. I know a lot more older people, yeah, they watch a lot of videos, but a lot of them do still read a lot. But yeah, I appreciate the questions and the interaction. Let me go ahead and move us to the next part, which is going to be selecting the platforms. So there are different areas on where your message can be put out there. So you have your broadcast media. This is like radio, television, streaming services. And then you also have print media. You can put this print media on flyers, brochures, posters, banners, signs, postcards, business cards, merchandise, packaging, billboards, and so much more. Whatever you can print on, you can put your message on. So that is like one area of where you can put your message. Another is like where else you can put your message is publications media. So you have your newspapers, your magazines, your books, anywhere, even like local articles as well. Another one, which is kind of my favorite, is in old school, is word of mouth, like having those conversations, those like in whether you're like at an event or like a community gathering, maybe it's a referral. So there are so many ways you can share your message. And then there's the digital media. That tends to be the most popular right now from what I've seen for my demographic. So my age group, a lot of us lean heavy on like the digital media. So that's like websites, blogs, SEOs, emails, ebooks, articles, even online newspaper, podcasts, audiobooks, streaming platforms, lives, billboards, social media. Can't believe I didn't write social media in there. And that's like my specialty. But yeah, even you can put your messages out there through digital media. And the last one too, and this is like another personal like favorite for me, is like public art. You have your murals, you can do wheat pasting, any like art projects that are happening within the community. These are like different sectors of where your message can be put. And these are just some examples. You can even like think out of the box of these things too, of like where this message can go. And then I'm just going to pause for a brief moment to see if any of you guys have any questions about like where selecting your platform or like selecting your platforms on where you want your message to go. I can go into depth of even like for broadcast, that tends to be like a different age group. A different demographic tend to like want to listen to like the radio. I think radio is really great for like if you're trying to reach people out on like the res, like you definitely want to invest in that. Like a lot more people listen to the radio out in the res from what I've seen with my past clients and have had success with too. Print media as well. Print media, I feel like is a little bit more general for the age group. It can vary from anywhere from like 6 to like 100. And then publications, I've seen a lot more of like age groups from like 30 34 on up. And then word of mouth is like any age group. And then digital tends to lean more towards the younger generation. And then public art is like a little bit of a niche, but it definitely does work. I've seen a mixture for public art as well. But yeah, I'll just take a brief moment to see if you guys have any questions about selecting your platforms. And there also isn't like a one size fit all. Like this may work for one person, but after going through like your evaluation phase, maybe you should have like maybe you switch it over and you're like, you know what? I should put this like out on a local website instead. That might get a little bit more of a hit. So a lot of it does to come down to like testing. And after a while, you kind of like get in a groove and you start building your audience and you figure out from there on which like works well for you. I will go ahead and move us to the next part, which is the crafting your message. So this is like the actual part where you start like writing and you get creative and you're ready to execute it and but yeah, you start off with this is kind of like how I do everything when I'm like getting in the zone for crafting the messages, which is like the story framework. Like, what are you trying to tell? Thinking about like, what is the context? Is there like an intro, a middle, an end? So just getting to like the heart of the message. I feel like the story is this like a super important part. It's like I want to say, yeah, definitely the center of like what kind of keeps the marketing going. And oh yes, and also try to always include an action step for people. Maybe you want to drive them to your website, or maybe you want them to fill out a form, or maybe you just want them to interact, let's say for social media, you want them to interact in your comment section. Always just kind of have an action step for people, even if it's like, let's say it's a flyer and you want them to scan the QR code. Those are some things to think about. Make sure you're kind of like giving them something to walk away with, but also giving them something to walk away with and maybe do after. Think about some key phrases like what words or quotes or hashtags should be included in your key messaging. And then another thing to think about too is like your visual concepts. How is this going to look? What colors am I going to use? Are there any like designs or photos that come to mind? Or maybe it's video. So thinking about those things, like imagining, yeah, the visual concept of where that message is going to be on and how it looks. The next part is content formats. So basically, once again, thinking about, is it a flyer? Is it a social media post? Is it a video script? Is it a photo shoot? Is it a live? Yeah, just thinking about where it's going to be can help craft how your message is going to sound. And the message doesn't have to be the same across the board either. That's another thing. You can say something more to where, let's say you want your marketing to be very keeping up with like social media. You want your demographics to be the same as what's on your social media. Maybe you tend to lean more like the Gen Z generation or what is it, millennials. You want to make sure you craft your media or you craft your message to where it aligns with them versus like for newspaper, you want to keep it a little bit more professional. There's a little bit more older people who read those things. You still have the same key message, but you just rewrite it in a way that it resonates with that audience. But yeah, and then just allowing yourself some like space to just draft, whether you need to like draft it by yourself or if you're collaborating with somebody sometimes. And if it doesn't even come, I always tell people just go out there and live life. It'll come to you sometimes when you're out there in the world. That's creating space for like, how is my message going to sound when you have these conversations with people? I know I come up with the most silliest things when I'm like with my friends, we'll be making up funny things. For example, like I was out in Santa Fe into Market recently, and I was like, dang, I'm gonna make something called like single swy, or what is it? A single swia singles, or like swia swag, or swia, what was the other one? Swia snag. That was the one I was thinking. So I think just like even going out there, you can create like fun marketing things like that. Ooh, let me go check the chat real quick. Let's see. I want people to go to my website to order products, but I just put blank is on my website now. Is that enough for action? Yeah, I definitely think so. So you would put your link there. I think adding that link. So you could say, like, let's say my hat just launched. Go check it out. And then you put the hyperlink. That is like another, I'd say that is very direct. That would be like a direct way of crafting your message. Let's see. You can, like I said, you can add maybe like once you add in the tone, maybe you should be like, hurry now. Like you want to like build that excitement. Oh my gosh, hurry now. I just launched my new hat. Get it while it lasts, kind of. Let's see. So there's different ways. Like I said, once you bring in the tone, it helps kind of, and like even adjectives, that helps a lot. But let me go. And then also like maybe your goal is just to keep it simple. Sometimes people just want to just keep it simple. Can I get a copy of the presentation or recording? I have to. Oh yeah, definitely. You can definitely get a copy. You guys will have access to this presentation as well. Getting back to crafting your messages. Another way you can craft your message is getting quotes, whether it's like from your relatives or your community members, or maybe your customers, a friend, maybe somebody who just wants to just like hype you up. Getting a quote from people is definitely another way you can craft your messages. And also creating space too for like mood boards, like what do you want this to look like? Just start like you see something and you're like, oh, I like that. Just like start pulling things that you like to see visually can help you craft your message too. Oh yes, and we will be posting this on YouTube later. I'll move us to the next part. After you're done crafting your message, you also have to post it or you have to publish it. You got to get it printed. Once it's out there in the world, you have to go through like the like evaluation, the testing, the analyzing phase. And this is important because then it can help you refine and reflect and figure out what's working and what's not working. So when you test, you try your message in like small ways at first. So you can, for example, do small posts if you want. Evaluate. This is where you like take in the information and get feedback. Did the people understand what you were trying to like? Did they understand your message, and did it accomplish your goal that you wanted for them? Did it connect with the people? The next part is like analyzing. Look at the results. So basically, did this work well? What didn't land? What else can I do? Is there anything, maybe even leaning on trends sometimes is like fun, another fun way. Oops. And lastly is refine. Adjust your message to make it stronger, to make it more aligned with your goals and values, and just repeat the whole cycle again of like where we started from the beginning, and just try to evaluate and refine. And just a lot of it is like testing too for marketing. It's like you got to constantly, yeah, you just constantly testing and figuring out what works. Let me know if you have any questions on the test, evaluate, analyze. I'll give you guys some space if you have any questions. Another fun one that you can test too, and you have to be I know you have to have, like, if you are wanting to pay to test too, that's another option through like social media, for example. They have this thing called A/B testing. So maybe you have two graphics and you want to see which one like people are more drawn to. You can test those two graphics and it'll help you figure out which one is like landing better with people, whether it's like visually or if it's through like through the written words. So that's another example of how to test. Analytics are so overwhelming for me to understand when looking at it. Is it possible to get some from Change Labs to look at it for me? This might be a Holly question, but I do definitely specialize in doing like analytical reportings. But yeah, Holly, do you have any answer for this one?
Yeah, I think if anything, I think it depends on what type of analytics. If it's just a social media one through the Meta Business Suite, I'd be happy to help you with that. If it's more complex one from like, I don't know how much of the team works within the marketing and stuff, but I definitely know that myself, and I'll inquire for the other coaches as well too, that we have that resource to see if they also help in our one-on-one coaching for that. But you're super welcome to book with me, and also to see if maybe there'll be something that we do later with Amber here as well too, for a wonderful resources at Change Labs. We haven't talked about it, but I think always a good place to start resources. So yeah, but great question.
Thanks, Holly. And thanks also for asking that question. I'll go ahead and move us to the next part. All right, now we're going to tie it all together and kind of practice using this marketing guide. And I'm going to give you guys some time. So let's see, it is 12 And how many more minutes do we have, Holly?
We technically go until 1:30, or we can, but however long you need to take too, that's fine.
Okay, that sounds good. I'd just love to hear from the chat. How long do you think it would take you guys to like fill out this information? Do you think 20 minutes is a little too extensive for you guys? I'm hoping that you guys can just kind of craft like a humorous 30-second message. So you'll have like 30 seconds to craft your audience, or you have 30 seconds to tell your audience about your work, your business, your message, your story, offer like what you want them to remember. So basically, we'll be using this marketing guide to build a mini strategy. And then our goal is to just walk away with a funny, memorable marketing message that you can use in your work, your daily life. But yeah, I'm just curious, how long would everybody like to like work on this individually? And then after individually, we're going to go into like breakout rooms with everybody. So then like you guys can share like, oh, this is like what you do for your business, kind of thinking of it as like an opportunity to connect, but also see where each other can help, where you guys can help each other reevaluate, like, oh, maybe you should try this or this. I'm open to like anywhere from like 10 to 30 minutes if people need, or we can just kind of, yeah, I'm just trying to gauge the room on like how much time you would like to fill out this form. Okay, I got 120 minutes. Cool. So you'll go ahead and I'll go ahead and start the clock. So at 12, we'll say 12:25, we'll come back as a group here. And yeah, we'll come back here as a group. Oops, I spelled guide wrong. And we can share this information into breakout groups. But I'll be online right here. So if you have questions, please feel free to like hop off, ask in the chat. If you have questions about something that's in the doc, you just got to make a copy for yourself and then just fill out the questions below. But yeah, I'll be right here for the next 20 minutes to help you fill this out if you need help. And the goal for this one is to have it like humorous. So we'll have like the tone will be humorous, and you can add more tones to it. But yeah, the tone will be definitely humorous. And I will check there. So if anyone has questions, let me know while you're filling it out. Afterwards, we'll go into breakout rooms and you guys can share like who you are as a person as well as what your business is. And then your up to 30-second message pitch.
Hi, Amber. I don't know if your screen stopped sharing, or I don't know if people took a screenshot or anything like that.
Oh no. Oh, let me share again.
For some reason, I can't. It's not showing on my side. Oh, there it is. Perfect.
Okay, thank you for flagging that.
Oh, sorry. I was having a lot of technical difficulties. Thank you. I think we got about 4 people in this. There must have been their lunch hour, which is awesome that we were able to get so many people during their break. But I was just wanting to check in to see if anybody had trouble starting, or even too if they wanted to start sharing a little bit as well too, like just things like that. Now that we have a little bit of a smaller group. And then Amber, just a question for the breakout rooms. Do you want to have 3 or just 2? Well, I guess like it would be hard to do 3, but just 2, or
How many do we have now?
we have about 4. I mean, Josiah is actually, or Joe Baya is one of our blending coaches at Change Labs as well too. So he could also be using this as well. It's always a good practice to have a good idea of how to help and design a marketing guide. But it looks like we have Lucinda, and then Myra, and then Simon.
I don't even think we need a breakout room. I guess we can just share here if that's okay with everybody.
All good. Yeah.
I know earlier we did have a few more people. That's why I was like, okay, maybe we'll do a breakout room.
Yeah, no worries. I think most people here on the New Mexico side of things, most people's lunch hour probably stopped, or they were transitioning into out of it or something like that. But all good. I'm so glad so many people were able to join us for the first hour. We're honestly for majority of the content. So
Me too. I was like, I hope a lot of people come, but I also know that it was like lunchtime. So I was like, I'm pretty sure some might have to hop. So I was trying to also get to the marketing guide just quick enough to where they're able to like see it, but also introduce it at the beginning if they wanted to hop in and look.
nice.
And we have about 8 more minutes, or am I mathing wrong? I think I'm mapping wrong. Yeah.
All good. What's 15 minutes?
Yeah.
I would say 3 minutes. You guys got 3 minutes left.
I was trying to play music. I was going to play Just a Chill Guy so everybody was like in a vibe. But I was like, I don't have Zoom downloaded. I have it through, I'm using it through the web browser, so it won't let me share the music. I was like, oh man, my whole vibe. I was like, everyone's just going to sit in silence, I guess. But that's probably good. So then you guys can really focus.
Exactly.
All right. I just want to gauge the room to see if anybody needed a little bit more time or if everybody's ready. And then we can just kind of, if we're ready, then we can just kind of go around and share.
I think people might be ready, Amber.
Or does anybody have any questions? Want to hop in? Maybe Lucinda. Sorry, I'm calling somebody, or whoever feels like they're excited and they want to share. Or yeah, definitely. You can definitely share it in the chat as well. It's okay if you don't want to share either.
No worries. I think I do get sometimes some people who are shy to share. No worries. But Amber, it looks like you put on some wonderful resources that people can engage with on your. Oh, it looks like Myra put something in the chat too.
Oh, perfect. We can read that one. She taught herself how to sew. I was practicing to keep my clothes from being crooked. I looked in my Sunny's closet and thought her scarves were pretty cool. So I combed my Sunny's swag with my favorite clothing style to make native clothing you can wear at work or just grab your favorite burrito at All Subs. Oh my gosh, I'm obsessed with All Subs. But yes, thank you for sharing. If anyone else wants to share, feel free to drop it in the chat. But I can move us to the resources. So we have a few resources. So there is a marketing guide, which is this one that I gave you. It helps you kind of get in that mindset of like crafting your message, getting everything kind of like a checklist as well. The type of tones that goes reference back to this one. So the type of tones and the type of mediums. So the type of mediums to be dropping these in the chat for you. That would be easier. And then we have the type of tones, if you ever want to reference back to this. And then we have the types of mediums. And these are just some articles that I kind of always reference back to and kind of get some ideas when I'm in that kind of like funk of a mood and I can't get in that mindset. So these are the channels as well. There's a lot more beyond these too. These are just like the basics. And I just want to make sure you have some of these like resources to reference back to as well. And then another thing too, another place I love to look to see where I can print stuff is Print Vista. So if you ever like thinking about doing print services and you're like, or if you're like trying to figure out like, can I print for like my marketing? Where can I put my messaging there? I love to look at Vistaprint. They have like a whole list of like ideas of what they can print as well. And then also some ideas of like where you can advertise. And the last one is some other free places you can advertise too is like Nextdoor, which is another app if you want to go like marketing locally. And then also like Craigslist. I don't know why everybody sleeps on Craigslist, but it definitely helps a lot. And then for like platforms, like design platforms, you can use like Canva, which is free if you just sign up with them. There are limitations and you can upgrade if you want. And then if you have more of a budget, I definitely recommend Adobe. But yeah, these are some of the resources, and that is the end of this workshop. And I am Amber Jean. I help with marketing consultancy and I do services. Emails there if you ever want to reach out. I've got my phone number there as well. And you can always connect with me either like through LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram. And if anyone has any questions, I'm just going to leave the room open for questions. And if there are no questions, I can pass it back to Holly.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amber. I really appreciate you coming out and doing this for us. I mean, in this virtual space, of course. And we hope to have actually Amber do some in-person workshops, either at Shiprock Hub or even Tuba City. So if you need a little bit more hands-on help, or you would essentially enjoy the more in-person setting of a workshop, just because I know that sometimes it can be challenging. I was a student that couldn't do online online classes myself. So I do love the in-person kind of aspect of learning in person. So we'll have that in the future as well too with Amber. So either one of this workshop again too, or even to the other facets and specialties that she has from her very, very big resume and the work that she's done with so many other entrepreneurs and organizations to help them build their marketing. So really kind of happy. I'll make sure that I'll get those resources on this page and one of the last pages from Amber so I can email it out to all the participants today and individuals who registered. This recording will be posted at a later date on our YouTube channel. We usually try to give our individual a little bit of time and leeway space before, and then also too we have a promotion around making sure that people know that when it's been posted. So just follow our Instagram and Facebook for that announcement, and also to a link to the video on YouTube. So, all right. I think
Thank you,
there was
Amber.
awesome. Thanks, Joe. I think I did see something that was in there. Oh yeah, there's 2 comments. No worries. Res Dolphins. Wonderful. I love it. Also, too, would you say that's a lot? I've seen more interaction by posting every day. Right now, I'm making a social media post every morning when I wake up. Would you say that's good long-term strategy? I wonder your thoughts on that, Amber. Myra's question in the
See, I've seen more interaction by posting every day. Right now, I'm making a social media post every morning when I wake up. Would you say that's a good long-term strategy? I think it is, just because it's like consistency. If you're able to like make more content in advance and then you can like schedule it out, it's really helpful. The big thing with social media is just being consistent. That's the big thing. And then it does take time to figure out like when the best posting time works for you based on like your account. Even like when you sign up for like social media, that plays a contributing factor of like how your content's going to do. So yeah, I'm one of those people who think yes, you can post every day. If it's starting to be too much, like pull back and really lean on like the messaging and strategy. And you can even think about posting like 2 to 3 times a week. But I've seen lately within like just how the algorithm and everything has changed, posting daily has been like the biggest like challenge, but it's kind of been working for some people. But it just depends on your account, what you've done, like the actions you take on your account does take an effect of like how it's going to do on your socials. So like for example, I'll use my personal as an example. My personal, I don't really post that often, but I'm trying to get back in the habit of it. So once I start building up that consistency, the algorithm will like configure and learn more about you. So yeah, but a lot of it too is just trying to make it sustainable for yourself. I know how hard it can be to like continue to make content after content after content. It does require a lot of work, but yes, I think just having some sort of consistency is what definitely helps a lot. I hope that helps with your question.
nice. Joe put in his marketing pitch for the last session, but amazing. Awesome. And Mara, if you ever need more help, again, happy to help you for one-on-one coaching or even to post this, because we know that when there's a lot of individuals who need the marketing support, especially with the upcoming holiday season, especially for the artisans and creative that are out there, and for your business particular, how you talked about it in your 30-second pitch for this workshop. We're happy to essentially start supplementing a lot more of those resources into these coming months. So great. Well, everybody have a wonderful kickstart to your long weekend if you get to have a long weekend. If not, all good. And I hope to see you on the next one that we have of this. Again, these workshops are crafted for us to promote the NSBCI program, the Navajo Small Business Credit Initiative, but also to helping individuals just get better resources and ideas for what they need next in their business. All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Amber. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
Hi, thank you everybody for joining. Hope to see you again.
Awesome. Thanks. Bye, guys.